I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah. I'm gonna have to say, man, I enjoyed this movie. I was struggling there for a minute, though. I'm not gonna lie. But I have to say, I was watching this movie and I was actually sitting there trying to figure out what was going on. And when I started doing that, that's when I knew I was into this movie. They had Sarah Michelle Gellar. She came back, but she came back as a ghost. Freddie Prinze Jr. was in it. There was a twist to that guy though, and then it had Jennifer Love Hewitt in it, and you had a fresh cast. You know, obviously everybody was fresh. Everybody that was a whole new cast, for a while, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know if I was gonna like these people, man. You know, I didn't want to get too attached to them because you knew they was gonna get killed, right? But they grew on me. Because I was sitting in the theater going like this, sitting there going like, man, come on, man. I don't know if I'm liking this at all, but it's I Know What You Did Last Summer vibe thing. Because I was in the theater watching it and I kept saying to myself, I'm like, I think I really like I Know What You Did Last Summer back in 1997 when it came out. I think it came out in 1997. Because that cast was super young. And now they're all, I don't know how old they are now. But it had it paid a lot of homage to a lot of people that was, it showed some of the movies. Obviously, somebody runs off a cliff, and they did the same thing that they did to the original cast. And they didn't report the accident, but they had one of the kids that was involved had a dad that was he had a lot of influence on the town, so they did call the police, but they never they never did tell the truth about how that accident happened. And the person that was in the vehicle, he did die, but you know how these stories are. There's somebody that's connected to somebody that takes the death real bad, and then they find out, who was involved, in that accident. But the whole time I was watching this, I kept sitting there saying to myself, I was like, man, why would you guys be partying out on a road like that? Because they were partying on the road and they were out there looking at some fireworks. And I'll be honest with you, those fireworks, when I was in the theater, it looked really looked good. And they were acting crazy, and a guy was coming around the corner, and one of the people they was smoking weed, and he was in the middle of the road. So one car came around and missed him and went on. And then they was yelling at their buddy that he shouldn't be doing that, and he was still out in the middle of the street, talking. And then he came back at first, but then he went back out there, and then another car came out there and lost control, and it was getting ready to go off the cliff. They tried to save the guy, but they couldn't save him, and if they wouldn't have let go of the car, I think it was a truck, and it went off the cliff. But before it went off the cliff, there was a person in the car that they said he's still alive, and his hand came out and grabbed the person's shirt. And then when the vehicle went down the cliff, it ripped the guy's shirt. And then, obviously they freaked out and they called the cops and all that stuff, but their dad, one of the kids is one of those people, one of the group's dad never reported that they were involved in it. So that's how, obviously that's how, it's set up. I Know What You Did Last Summer. So anyway, you guys, I'm not gonna lie, man, I ended up liking this. And I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think I was gonna like it. I really didn't. And I couldn't wait to watch this on Saturday. I had to actually watch it on tonight, because I've been really energetic about watching movies lately. So I was kind of jacked up about watching movies. This up and coming week because I knew that I Know What You Did Last Summer was coming out, and I was just interested to see how they was going to do it. But I did get into it because I was trying to figure things out. Now, is this a 5-star movie? No. You know, it might be a 3.5-star movie as far as I'm concerned. Man, it had a lot of people that came back, and that ending was really nice because I decided to stay at the end of the ending. And when I did, I was glad because I kept sitting there going, I said to myself, I said, you know what, Vic, you need to stay and watch all the credits, because when the credits was rolling, it was rolling and you could still see part of wherever they were at, you know, and the camera was panning off in the ocean and on you know, the ocean and the cliffs that the ocean would, you know, and it just kept panning off at the ocean and wherever this place was, and then it showed that winding road where the winding road where all those accidents are. So I kept sitting there, and then all of a sudden at the end, there was another character. I'm not going to give it away, but there was another character at the very end of the movie. I was like, holy crap. I was like, oh man, I was like, wow, I forgot all about this person. I'm not even going to tell you. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Put it this way, I'll give you a hint. The person that was at the end of this movie, they left it as a cliffhanger. This person was in the second I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. This person was in the second one. So, yeah, I was sitting in the theater, man. I had a big old grin on my face. Like, oh, man, you got to be kidding me. So, and then, this movie really, it grew on me. I was in the theater, though. I ain't gonna lie, I was in the theater, man, going like this, like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna get into this, because I know what my problem was. I was not buying into these new faces. I wasn't buying into them at all. But I give it a chance. I just kept sitting there watching. I kept trying to get into the story. And I was really trying to get in to see what was going on, because I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is, those movies are basically makes you get into who's doing all this killing. Because a lot of times when you find out who's doing the killing, it's always one of those people. It's because when I watched the first one, I was still trying to figure out who that guy was. And I kind of forgot who that first guy was in the first one. And then the second one, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, I enjoyed it as well. But this one here, man, there was parts where I actually was figuring some things out. Yeah, that's what I want to say. I was figuring some things out. I said, I think that person's involved. And I had a hunch, and my hunch was correct. But the only problem I have with this thing is that when it first started, I was like, dude, you killing people ain't had nothing to do with this thing. Because I was like, are you ever going to kill any of the people that are involved? Because you had like 6 young people that was involved. Because everybody's young. Like remember the old cast back in 1997, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. and I forgot the other guy's name, and then you had Sarah Michelle Gellar. They were all young back then. I was a lot younger back then as well, but this cast was young, and they did a good job casting this young group. But I think there was 6 total. But I was in there going like, okay, you killed this person and you killed this person. These 2 people ain't had nothing to do with it because they weren't even part of the group. So they kind of threw me a curveball right there. So anyway, you guys, I could rant and rave on there, but man, there was a part where Sarah, because you guys know Sarah Michelle Gellar died in the first one, and she came back this time as a ghost. And I said, oh, there's Sarah Michelle Gellar. I said she made an appearance, but she played she was in this dream, and they did what's those things where they computerized her face and make her look like she was super young, and but she still, you could tell it was Sarah Michelle Gellar, but they computerized her face a little bit to make her look a little younger. But I think that was Sarah Michelle Gellar that was playing her. But it did say that she was in the movie when the credits rolled. So I know I'm, jumping around here a little bit. I have to say, man, this movie actually grew on me. Because I'm not going to lie, you guys. At first, I was like, dang, man. I was sitting there saying to myself, man, I know I'll probably like this movie, but not that much. But you know what? I liked it. And they left a cliffhanger. Because it was, in closing, it was one of those, it kind of was like that with me. And then I started getting into it. And the kills were pretty, there was some good kills in here. There was some really good kills in here. So that's all, I'm just getting ready to go home. I decided to go see it on a Friday after I got off work. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is a 3.5 star. I ain't gonna give it 4 stars. I'll be honest with you. This ain't no, don't get me wrong. It's not no 4 or 5 star movie, but I give it a 3.5 though, cause there was parts I was like, man, and then I kept trying to. What I like is when I'm trying to picture and put stuff together myself, and stuff, and they just give you these little breadcrumbs. Yeah, I love when I get into movies like that. I love that when I watch movies like that. See, this is what I love. There ain't nothing like the movie experience. We'll catch you in the next video. God bless and take care. We'll see you.